Welcome to the another episode of Five Reason. This is the Five Reason podcast. See, episode two. Glad you guys, still stick with us. And today, um, we have another special guest, a returning guest. I must say, none other than Mr. Vonel Lamour. But before we get to him, I just want to a big shout out to our sponsors, the WebPrint Lab, for all your marketing, print solution, anything that you need to get done, business card, flyers, brochures, name it. For a funeral, you're looking for a place to get the brochures done. For your church, banners, any marketing materials that you may need. Check them out. WebPrint Lab. You could check their webpage, and none other. No, it's the owner, Vonel Lamour. Excellent. They'll give you excellent customer service, and will do whatever job you need to do. Get it done. You'll get it done on budget and on time. And our second sponsor, Enfocus Entertainment. If you guys getting ready to get married, for any weddings, communion, birthdays, whatever you're looking for, taking pictures, videos, check them out. Check their website, Enfocus Entertainment, Enfocus ent.com, and they're also on Facebook. You can also give them a call. They're right here in Randolph, Massachusetts. And then the New England Christian Television Network. It's a new TV station that just launched. You can find the app on Apple Store, Android Store. For those of you trying to looking for something new to uplift your spirit, New England Christian Television Network is for you. And of course, Five Reason. With the Five Reason journals, the Five Reason T-shirts. You could go to the website www.fivereason.live and to purchase your T-shirts, and we're giving away free T-shirts if you purchase the book. With that said, we got the commercial out of the way. Today's show, we're gonna it's gonna be free flow. We're gonna talk about entrepreneurship and what does it mean to be an entrepreneur. And with that said, I'm turning it over to Vonel. How are you today, my brother?
And I am doing great. I'm doing fabulous. Thanks for asking, and definitely thank you for having me again. It was definitely a pleasure to be in on episode one, and then so this is twice the pleasure. It's like Groundhog Day. I'm kind of Christmas is all over again. So definitely appreciate you having me. I'm definitely honored to be a guest again, and then I'm also honored to have anyone who is watching to learn and pick up something, even if it's one person or 100, anyone who picks up something from our conversation this afternoon. I'm hoping that there's some value that we're able to add and help change some lives, help give some folks some reasons.
Absolutely. I know. Today's conversation, really, it's wanted to share with the audience our personal experience, our journey as entrepreneurs. When we get started, I can speak for myself. I've been in the game for 20 years now, trying, good failures, and experience, made some money, lose some money, of course. But that's the beauty of entrepreneurship. You fall hard, break some bones, bleed, but put some on and get up and keep trying. Yeah.
Well, this is true. I mean, I think the whole thing about an entrepreneur is that you give up a 9 to 5 with one boss to have a 24-hour job with infinite amount of bosses. And I think sometimes the conception is that you're your own boss, but really every client that you serve, everyone in your audience, everyone who you're serving becomes your boss, because they're the person who you're actually employed by. You're the person you're reporting to those folks. Now, it may not be in the same put in 40 hours and you get paid. But
Mhm.
every product you sell, every service you provide, that person becomes your boss in that moment, right? Because they're the ones who are essentially who have you for hire.
Ab-
So
Absolutely.
that's always that's sort of a rude awakening for folks, because um, oftentimes folks just want to be in charge of themselves or just have their own freedom and autonomy. But with freedom comes responsibility. It comes, it's like there's two kind of lions. There's a lion who's in the circus
Mhm.
who, jumps through hoops, very safe, gets fed, does its work, and then goes back at the end of the night and does this thing every day at the circus. And then there's a lion in the jungle, who's free to eat whatever it wants to eat, but it has to go out and hunt.
Ab-
It doesn't wait. It can't wait. If it waits, it doesn't eat. There's no lion master that's gonna feed you. The lion has to go out there and eat. So
Absolutely.
I think those are, when you think about entrepreneurship, it's that lion in the jungle where there's no rules, there's no guidebook. There's some some suggested guidelines, but every lion eats differently. Every season is different. Every prey and stock is different. So being able to adapt becomes a skill set that an entrepreneur definitely will need.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. And I want to jump in terms of like, curious to know if you would share with the audience and what was your journey is like when you started, looking back 10, 15 years ago, when you started your first company. What was the journey? No.
Well, I think for me, it might be slightly unique, but I think, no, not unique, but what happens is very early on, I was the kind of kid I liked to sell lemonade. I did the lemonade stands, selling lemonades for 25 cents or 50 cents for a cup. Um, if you remember at Ringe, there was in order to go skiing, you had to sell candy. I don't know
Yep.
if you remember like that. So I didn't mind doing that. When I played basketball, you had to sell raffle tickets in order to get sneakers. Um, so that, and then even selling candy was, I didn't realize I was a version of being an entrepreneur, right? I just figured I was just raising money to do what I needed to do. Or the lemonade stand wasn't even about the money. I liked the idea of putting together some lemonade, stirring it up, and being able to serve people. People pay for something I made with some water and powder, right? And so
Mhm.
I think the entrepreneurial spirit was in me very early. I just didn't have a title for it. And when you grow up with, parents who enforce education and work, entrepreneurship, unless you come from parents who have that, you don't even understand it. You feel like it's for other people or you need $1 million to have a business. So I would say the journey really started before I even knew what the word entrepreneur meant. But in the practical sense, I would say in modern day times when I actually branched out to get into branding, into marketing, into online, digital marketing and, design and so forth. Um, I think I'm a product of hip hop, right? Growing
Mhm.
up in the age of the Jay-Z's, the even the Dr. Dre's, where owning your own record label, owning your own masters, your own music, that has been kind of an influence in a way. And just sort of seeing, even movie stars also own their own, director, their own studios, and just that whole spirit of being your own entity sort of propelled me to say, you know what, it makes more sense to sort of have your own. So that journey, again, there was always sort of been one foot in, one foot out. But at the time where I think I went all in was almost, I want to say, random. I mean, I wish I could tell you there was a business plan and like, I had an intro, I had a prospectus, the P&L sheet, and I did some market research. Like, no, what
Business plan.
essentially happened is sometimes opportunities come to you and you have to take a leap of faith.
Absolutely.
And, literally driving by and saw a for rent sign on a main street, and I said, I wonder how much that is, and I'm thinking it's going to be something that I can't afford way high, but I just ran again. It could have been any other day. If it happened the day after or the day before, I would have just drove by, or I would have just looked and said, "Oh, for rent, okay." I wonder what will come here next. Not thinking I can be there next. But on that particular day, I saw for rent. I said, you know what? Let me give them a call. And I gave a call. And luckily, the owner was really cool, was willing to work out the amount, was willing to work out the deposits, didn't do a credit check, just was just eager to rent, And again, I don't know if you call it luck. I don't really believe in luck, but sometimes with chance, when you take chances and you look enough, sometimes things happen. Now, for me, it just so happened the first person I called, it turned to work out. But who knows? If I kept looking other places, I'm sure I would have found. So, you negotiate some terms, and then you just get to work. It becomes a grind. Started telling everyone in the world, hey, let's have a print shop here on Main Street. If you need any printing, you know who to see. And then, when money is tight, you start being creative. So, I got involved in like Chamber of Commerce's, like Malden Chamber of Commerce, which was a great network because I met politicians and other restaurants in the area and, strummed up business that way. Being that I'm in marketing myself, I utilized the Facebook, utilized social media to sort of get the word out. And then just a lot of basic common sense word of mouth. Hey, Liz, I'm opening up this shop. If you need anything, let me know. Can you let anyone else know? And you let that travel. So, not the most sexy story. I wish I could tell you that it was this great thing, but it was really simple. Saw an opportunity, saw an opening, took a leap of faith, believed in what I was doing, and I just never looked back. Now, since then, I moved shops. I went from one, then I moved to another that was a little larger. And then the business model changed where I realized majority of people weren't necessarily coming to a brick and mortar to see me. It was like this. It's digital, through phone, through the internet. So it's sort of like the space wasn't really necessary. It was nice to have because it gave me an opportunity to serve people and to have clients. But majority of people didn't come in. A lot of the people were just through phone, through internet, through mail. So I realized that I could trim a little bit of the fat and pour it more into the marketing and pour it more into having like a virtual office. So when you downsize, you can actually do more because you're not caught up with staffing, with, a lot of the overhead. You can put that into reinvesting into the business. So that's the current model now. That could change in a few years, so the other important thing I think about entrepreneurship is being flexible, being, you got to move with the times. Any big business that's been around, you look at Apple, they started off with doing PCs. Now they're, a phone company. So that kind of summarizes, of course, there's little details, some ups and downs in between. But essentially, I think every entrepreneur journey, it's never pretty. Anyone who tells you it's easy or it's like quick and it's overnight, they're either not telling you the whole story or, maybe in some cases, somebody handed them some money or mommy and daddy kind of, like Trump said, he got a modest $1 million loan from his dad, like,
$1 million.
Yeah, just just a mil. That's all.
Yeah, it's not much.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, so I think it's it's an up and down journey. Sometimes there were times where things were like, man, am I gonna make it another month? And then there were other times where it's like, oh man, this is drinks on me, everybody. So you take the good with the bad, but then after a while you realize how to maintain steady. right? You kind of you get a steady flow. You set some goals. You pick these things up as long as you continue to learn and become a student of your craft. You'll always do well. I think anyone who I've seen fail, it's not that they failed or did something wrong. The biggest failure is not learning from your mistakes. It's from repeating the same mistakes over and over. And I think that's where you've shined. I've seen you go through different ventures and different brands and starting all over and starting again. And the thing for you is every time you learn from the last time and you build on the last experience, you build on the last. So I can't say you ever failed. I can't say, unless you failed. No, you had some lessons, you learned from them, and it brought you to where you are here. Without those humps, you wouldn't be where you're at now. So
Absolutely, absolutely. Even for myself, I remember back in the days, for anyone watching from Cambridge, way back in the days in the early 2000, late 90s, we started, like a couple of friends of mine, the Lego. We started this group called Lego Entertainment. So with about there was about a group of, I would say, 10 of us, to say the least. And each person had a role. Like we had two DJs, Lego, Ico, so we did wedding, the Cambridge Carnival. If you ask anyone way back in the days in the late 90s into the early 2000s, we used to do represent the Haitians and doing the Cambridge Carnival with Lego Entertainment, throwing parties, fashion shows and things, full entertainment, events. And then from there, just like, unfortunately, everybody stopped moving out of state and things, and so the group, kind of broken up. And for me, I just move on to the next step. I launched my magazine, a magazine at that time called Nouveau magazine. So the idea of the magazine was really to showcase Haitian professionals and the diaspora, bringing interviews, articles, and things like that. Did that for a little bit of while. And then, things kind of shift and go to different business model, what you were talking about. You learn from when it's not working, then you have to be creative enough, just to use what you have and, make something out of it. Just like you have the lemonade, you have the lemon, you make lemonade. Whether you get honey, you put honey, or whether you put sugar, whether it's a white sugar or brown sugar, whatever it is, whatever you find, you could, you make it work for you.
Can I say one thing? I'm sorry, not to cut you off, but you reminded me. I forgot something that made my lemonade stand out, and especially Americans weren't really hip to this thing. But I had essence.
Yep,
the Haitian essence. You put that in there, and that gave the lemonade a whole other. So it was like, and that's what made things really sell. And so to your point, sometimes, yeah, lemonade is lemonade. Anyone can put lemon and water together and sugar, but then it's like, what other little thing can you do to really separate? And when you grow up on essence, you know what I mean, and every Haitian household has it, but then you put it in your lemonade, but you sell it to a group of people who aren't familiar, and they're like, wow, this is. Or for the people who aren't familiar, they're like, oh, I don't get lemonade all the time with essence.
Yep. No, that's true. That's true. That's true, and that's what I meant by, like, what you have in your hand. And for me, with my magazine, when I went through, it was good when when we first launched it, but after a while, and things changed. The market started changing. Advertisers start pulling back. So writers, people you depends on the most, are just like, okay, to submit article for you to, just like, hey, can I get this article this week? Can I get this? Everybody just like, you can't. It comes to a moment like you can't count on anyone else. So just like, what do you do? So for me, it's just like I put it on the shelf for a while. I went through the discouragement phase, like, just like, okay, what do I do next?
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, it just like I pick it up again and turn it into a consulting company, and moving from a magazine to a consulting, doing providing consulting, and then from that's when things really from the consulting aspect that start opening, the doors start opening for me. The very first consulting gig that I got was in the nonprofit sector for this organization back in the days, and then this Haitian organization. And at that time, I knew nothing about nonprofit. I knew nothing about fundraising, and they were planning a big gala. It was like, hey, we're trying to do this. This is the idea. We're trying to raise $50,000. So I come in just like, give us a proposal and things. So I put a proposal together, and I wouldn't say luck, but by the grace of God, they accept my proposal, and I got the job. So I helped organize the event. Yeah, I helped organize the event. I had no clue what I was doing, but I helped put it together because I used to do big events, and that part of that the team, doing things like that. So, and then from there, just like they invite me to be part of the board and things, and then that's where my consulting career really start taking shape in terms of on the nonprofit side, start learning about it and things. So it's funny when you set out to go one way, a one red light could change the whole dynamic of your direction. So it's up to you what you wanted to do, but and that's part of the entrepreneurship journey. Really, you got to make mistakes. A lot of people will just like, oh, I have this idea to start this business. No, I'm good at this, I'm good at that, but no, I don't want to fail. I don't want to fail. I don't know which way to go. Oh, like no, somebody else is already doing it. And what I said is that, look at Microsoft where they are today. If they listen to our Oracle, they would never be in the database business. If they listen to what was the competitor for the CMR, Salesforce, they will never be, because they had product competing with like 10 different other companies. They're in the market. Each of the products that they put out competing with 10 other different companies. But it's for us as an individual, we're afraid of the competition, and we see everything as a competition, where in reality you're only competing with yourself when it comes to
Ring, ring, ring. If I could put a little bell, that's a very key point. You're competing with yourself.
Yeah, if you don't put your ideas out, if you don't just act on your ideas as an entrepreneur, or you have this, I start this business, this organization, or to start something, but you're thinking about like fear, you're thinking about competition, you're thinking about where am I going to get the money? You're thinking about like, how am I going to make money? Versus just like, okay, just act on it. The minute you start, the power of acting, the minute you start acting on it, things will start falling apart. Like the quote said, it doesn't matter how you start, but it matters how you finish. In order to start, in order to finish, you must start. So that's the key. But I'm saying this to say that really all ideas, no matter what ideas that you have, it means something. Don't sleep on it, because the ideas you end up ignoring today, and then tomorrow somebody else is going to become a multimillionaire with the same idea that you.
Same idea.
Yeah, we've seen that over and over and over again. If you don't act on it, you'll be like, whether it doesn't matter what it is, just act on it. But I don't know if you have anything to add.
No, listen, I would just be repeating the same thing. I like, if I could flash across the screen some of the key points you made, in terms of, from the competition, from following through with these ideas, and the other piece I realize is that I used to believe that entrepreneurship is for everybody. right? I used to say anybody can be a business person, anybody can be an entrepreneur, and everyone should be an entrepreneur, right? That was kind of like a thing. Now, in recent times, I kind of, and you let me know what you think. I begin to realize that yes, I still believe everybody should be creative and like some use some level of like ingenuity to sort of advance. Whether you're doing it in a job, whether you're like whatever job you're in, try to do it and create a better way to do it. But I also realize that there's a lot of power in being a number 2, a number 3, a number 4, even a number 7 in a company. Number 10 in Facebook makes more than, I mean, I don't know how many million or billion you're up to right now, Linz, but they make more than, they're doing okay. I'm gonna put it that way. Number 10 in Facebook, let alone number 1 and 2. So while sometimes you want to beat your chest and say, I own this and I'm the boss, how much of a boss are you if you're not able to get your company past being a hundredaire? You know what I mean? So in some cases, sometimes it makes sense to collaborate. If I see 5 reasons and I say, actually, you know what? It's better that I help 5 reasons get to this level. So that way the ocean rises for all of us and it's a bigger ocean than me trying to separate and do this and you do that. And now we're kind of, you know what I'm saying? So
man, you just nailed it in the coffin.
So I've been rethinking the whole idea of what basically being self-aware of who you are, what your skill sets are, what your capabilities are, how much time and resources you have. Sometimes it might make sense to be a solid number 2, a solid number 3, or a solid number 20 if you're effective and can help the entire organization be great.
Yeah, well, it's I love what you're saying, especially with collaboration. Especially from our culture, the Haitian culture, instead of collaborate, a lot of times, working on this project, working on this business, instead of collaborating, you doing this, I much rather try to, like fight to do it on my own than to collaborate with you, to make it happen, to rely on your strength. That's what we're good at, to come to you. No, I rather just create a competition, try to do it myself. I'll just like, oh, I don't need you, or it brings the level of jealousy, instead of, removing that level of jealousy, and just like seeing it as a strength to help, helping each other, supporting. And for example, this platform here, this podcast here that we're doing is a perfect example of that. I don't have all the answers. We don't have all the things, but I partner with WordPrep Lab. I partner with your company. Whereas that's you guys' expertise. So to help all of it and bring that up,
and vice versa too, as well, right? Like,
yes.
It isn't enough to have the technology. You need the content. You need the know-how. You need the information. So you put both of those together, right? You put the brain, the organization, you mix it with the technology and with the marketing, and now you have a bigger entity than individual. So yeah, to your point, I mean, the funny thing is, like, if you ever travel up anywhere that has a carpool lane, technically the carpool lane should be bigger than the individual lane.
Yeah.
But if you notice, there's more traffic in the individual lane, which means more people want to drive by themselves than drive in a group that'll bring you there faster.
Exactly.
If that makes sense.
No, perfect sense.
You would think more people would want a carpool because they created a lane so you can go faster.
Exactly.
But that people would rather be comfortable by themselves, and even though it takes them longer, they're by themselves. So I think it's just something to think about, something to sort of explore. Yes, partnerships can be tough, collaborations, there can be some headbutting, but I think if it's a positive and constructive collaboration, a lot of great things can happen.
Absolutely, absolutely. And no, and based on collaboration, that's how you're going to be successful. Just we collaborate, but at the same time, we have different visions. My vision, your vision is totally different, but no, the mission, stay the same. The mission is success.
Exactly.
So, but no, with that success, have different visions of getting there, and different strategies, basically.
Yeah.
But for like what are the two key lessons that you learn, uh, that you wish that you knew when you started?
Good question. Two.
Yeah, it could be more.
One. The number one. Okay, number one is working on the business and not in the business.
Mm.
And I'll say that again: working on the business and not in the business.
Elaborate on that.
So in the beginning, I wanted to do everything. I'm talking from cashier to janitor to take out the trash to design to print to like everything within the business. I thought I had to do. I thought that being a businessman means that you do everything.
Yep.
And when you're younger and you have a bunch of energy, you will do anything and you'll spend your entire life working. But then you realize, well, what are you working for? What are you spending 70, 80 hours doing? And yes, in the beginning you do that in order to get momentum, but then you realize that you're not able to grow that way because you can't duplicate yourself. If you're not there, nothing else gets done. If you have a doctor's appointment or you have to go pick up supplies, who's going to do the other thing, right? So you then realize that in order to grow, you have to be able to delegate. And so working on the business is actually more important than working in the business, because a true business is one that you don't have to be at, one that you don't have to check in. Yeah, maybe you make sure things are okay, but you create a system that works itself, as opposed to you being that system and you being that one person. So when someone needs to get serviced, they come to you and no one else can service them. And now it's like, you can only service one person at a time and you can only have one impact at a time. Imagine if we were doing this podcast and only one person could listen. You know what I mean? Like you could only speak to one person at a time. It wouldn't be efficient. And imagine if we couldn't record a podcast and you could only listen to it live and one person at a time. We'd have to repeat everything we're saying, however long. So I think that's the number one lesson, I would say. And then two, which I always knew, is that you have to be willing to evolve and change whatever you thought was real. Whatever assumptions you had in terms of what business should be, what clients do want, what prices they should be, what's hot, what's not hot, like all those assumptions, whatever you think, the market decides. Okay? 5 Reasons, I think that's the greatest logo. But if everybody looks at that logo and says, it's not good, then it's not good. Your opinion doesn't really matter. The market dictates what's good, what's not good. Some of the best movies or the best songs or the best anything, like in your eyes, you're like, this is clearly the best. But it doesn't mean that it's going to sell. It doesn't mean that it's profitable. It doesn't mean that's the right timing, right? Some things are either before the time or after the time. I mean, there's songs just earlier, this week, I'm listening to, the Marvin Gayes, the Michael Jacksons, the Luther Vandross. Like these are like timeless pieces that maybe in their day, who knows how big they were. So those are the two things in a long-winded way. One is working on the business, not in it. And then two, being able to evolve and be flexible. Now, oftentimes too, you also gotta, if you really believe in something, you stick with it. Like Steve Jobs, everyone thought he was crazy with this whole iPod thing and then later iPhone. Like it was a crazy idea. but he stuck it out, and he knew that people needed it before they knew.
Yep.
You know, like he knew people would be on this more than we even knew. You know,
Exactly. Big, dictate our lives.
but you also got to remember, for every Steve Jobs, there's Joe Schmo that you never hear about.
You never
That's
heard
why.
about,
You know what I mean? There's Tom, Dick, Harry that you never hear about, but it didn't work out for them. You know.
No,
Um,
absolutely. You're
so,
absolutely right.
like the BlackBerry, for example,
Is
you
that
know, at one point everyone had the BlackBerry, right? The BBM, Haiti, back of, you know. Now you can't find. If I pulled out a BlackBerry now, you look at me like, "What's wrong with you?"
Yeah.
So that's a company that decided.
Palm. You remember the Palm? The
Yeah,
compare.
exactly. Yep. The with the stylus.
Yeah.
So that's a company that said we're not going to evolve. We're going to listen. We're number one phone. We're going to stick with it. And now look at them. You
Yep.
know. And then of course
You remember
the other example is
picture, instant picture?
which one?
Polaroid.
Oh, Polaroid. Yep.
You take the instant picture, shake it, and then and like less than 5 minutes you get an instant picture. So
Now that's a company that should have got into phones, right? Like phone cameras. There should be such thing as a Polaroid phone.
exactly.
If they were evolving, you know, or Netflix, you know, Blockbuster. What did we used to do? We used to rent movies.
Yep.
Now Blockbuster should have been number one in terms of Netflix and streaming and all that, but they didn't want to evolve. So, I mean, there's tons of examples that way, but essentially, you got to be willing to change your business model and grow.
No, I agree with you. For me, the first one, the very first one, it was bringing some people with me that did not understand my vision, bringing partners with me who did not understand my vision, and and that was the number one. You've seen something in that person and try to partner with them. It's just like, hey, yeah, they haven't really invest the time, the sweat that you have done, and you have invested in the company, but it just come in and just like try because you've seen the potential, but for them they don't see that. And when you relied on that particular partner, for that vision to carry on, and they don't carry their own weight, and they let you down, or they just like that wasn't for them. They walked away when you need them the most, and different things. So bringing the one partner, that's the number one lesson that I learned. Partner, bring people who doesn't see your vision, their vision doesn't align with your own vision.
Yeah.
And the second thing was for me was an accounting. Wish I know what I know in accounting now. I know back in the days.
Very critical.
Every little penny out of your pocket and things, spend like crazy, but without having the proper structure, without understanding the tax code, how to take advantage as an entrepreneur with the tax code, like how certain things are taxable. So those are two key. There's so many, but those, for me, those two things, really give me the maturity to be a better entrepreneurs, and in addition, not to giving up, because you're gonna have people laughing at you. I've been going at this for this, like I have friends, family members.
People are laughing at this live. I'm not even sure why it's funny, but
yeah, it's just like, what are these guys talking about? Oh, this guy's every week is on something, every month is on things, but they don't understand. Like for me, as an entrepreneur, you don't never give up, but never be too attached to your own ideas. So that's the other thing, because you might have this idea and you're so attached to it, like we spoke about before, with giving an example with Polaroid, all these other companies, because they were so attached to that one idea, and they can't let go to be innovative. And so there's a difference not giving up, and there's a difference really to understand when to not so much giving up, when to pivot, or when to innovate, revisit your business ideas, from look at it from one end to another. So for perfect example, when I first, a couple months ago, when I first launched the 5 Reason, it was just like a book and a T-shirt. Now it comes to a point where it become a marketing education platform. So taken from retail to marketing education, to a full platform, it's you have to be able to see the big picture, not so much to focus on just that little seed that you have in your hand. So those are the lesson that I learned. As time approaching, we have 5 more minutes to for left for this podcast. I don't know if anyone's watching from Facebook got any questions that they would like to have us answered. Today again, just a quick recap, talking about entrepreneurship. Um, you know, Success and failures, both, Vonell and I, we sharing our experience in terms as entrepreneurs, what we learn, not only from our own personal experience, but on a cultural pace and environment as well. So because there's many of you, some people, you probably have an idea, it's just you want to move forward, that could literally revolutionize your life, your family's life, now the whole and the industry in general. But because of fear, you let fear cripple you. Because of the environment, the people that you are, your people around you, you're afraid of taking the next step. You're afraid of getting those things done. So we're just like sharing ideas to just like encourage someone. I don't know who that is, but encourage you. Just don't be afraid. Take the next step. The entrepreneurship journey, it's not sexy. Entrepreneurship is not sexy. It's a very brutal, but at the same time, it's very rewarding. It's a very rewarding. It's just like a game, playing a domino. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. You know. So, but in closing, what 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 are some word of wisdom you would like to leave the listeners with?
Well, I mean, I think you said the bulk of it. It's essentially just give yourself a shot. Give yourself a shot. If it's an idea, if it's a product, if it's a service, just give it a shot. The beauty nowadays is you have the internet. You can always test your ideas on with very little upfront cost. There's your Shopify's, there's your eBay's, there's OfferUp, Let Go. There's all these Facebook, what's the thing? Facebook Market. There's all these different platforms that you can just try your idea out. You hire some graphic person to put up some mock-ups for you, and you see if it works. Whatever it is that thing is, just you sort of try it out. Sometimes you don't necessarily have to buy the thing and then sell. Sometimes you can sell the thing and then you buy. So the advice is just give yourself a shot. And if not, support somebody who is taking a shot. Sometimes 2-3 minds can work a lot better than yours on by yourself. And not everybody is a leader, so you might be a better number 2 and a better number 3. So I say one way or another, get behind entrepreneurship. It doesn't always mean you're in the front. Sometimes it means you can be the behind the scene guy. You can be the support guy. Every entrepreneur could definitely, could you not use some assistance?
Of course.
Like whether it's check an email, whether it's send an email, whether it's talk to a sponsor, whether it's write something, like every entrepreneurship entity can always need help. So if it's not for you, see if you can support somebody who's doing that. And the support doesn't necessarily mean financially, just in terms of a vision that you also see. You sort of take part in that and help see that through. But other than that, I do appreciate everyone taking the time to listen to this short period of time that we had to share with everybody. Hopefully on the replay, some more people tune in. And, I think the social media handles are on the side, but you can hit up 5 Reasons if there's any other questions that we might have missed or anything specific people might want to hear.
Yeah, and I thank you, Vonell, for your time and sharing this word of wisdom and encouragement with anyone that's thinking about launching a business, launching a brand or something. And just remember, like we said, like Vonell said, You don't have to be a superman. You don't have to be a superwoman. Get help. Get assistance. There's people, get a mentor. There's people who would love to, sit down with you and share their experience with you. I'm here. You could also always reach out to Five Reason or reach out to me, Lance on Facebook, Lance Samerzier, girl Lance Samerzier. I'm always available. And Vonell, same thing. WebPoint Lab. You could reach out to them. Reach out to V on Facebook as well. We're here. We could also provide some support or mentorship to guide you. You don't have to be alone. And the second thing is, don't be afraid. Do not be afraid of taking the next step. Do not be afraid. Take the leap. To get it done. Because if you don't, I guarantee you, a few months from now, a few weeks from now, you would wish that you had started. So with that said, again, I want to thank all of our sponsors, WebPrint Lab, Focus Entertainment, New England Christian Television Network, and of course, Five Reason. Thank you, and everyone who's watching over at Facebook.
Pick up your Five Reasons book ASAP.
Yes, you could go on www.5reasons.live, to get the book. And I want to, for the next today, since today is a special day, August 8th. So then the first 8 people that hit me up after this podcast, you will get a free T-shirt, Five Reason T-shirt. The first 8 people that hit me up, so just go on the website or text, DM, whichever, you'll get a free T-shirt. Here's the catch. There's a catch. The catch is you have to be local. You have to be local to come get your shirt. Stop by to get your shirt. That's the only catch. But other than that, the first 5 people, and also go on our website, go on our page, to like our page and subscribe, and to stay. Thank you again. Everybody have a wonderful afternoon, and I'll see you next week.
Shout out to all the Leos. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to all the Leos.
All right. Take care.